Hey, howdy and hello, folks. Welcome back in to T1A. We are back. We're recording. We got some fun facts, and we've got an intro.
Nothing like taking a little time off, but good things come to those who wait. Let's get into this shit.
There we go, and here we are. We are talking about buying cheap today for Dynasty players. I think I'm going to start this off here, but before we get to that, how you feeling? How you doing?
Not bad. Ready to rock and roll. Ready to get back into the season. It's a good time to be around fantasy football, especially if you're in Dynasty. You got franchise tags right around the fucking corner. You got the combine coming up. Rookie talks heating up. So it's time to get rolling again. Starting up at the perfect time.
All right. So you and I took this a little bit two different places. I took cheap of cheap when I was buying players. You took some great players that you're buying that are below price, and I spent some pennies. That's usually how I am. I'm just a cheap bastard.
Here's what it is.
So, first up, I am going to be talking about Noah Gray from Kansas City. Definitely think Kelsey is near the end of his career. Kelsey is near the end of his career. He still finished with 97 receptions on 133 targets, 823 yards, and 3 touchdowns on the season. But that's nowhere near what we would expect from Kelsey in a season. He still finished 5th for tight ends in fantasy points. Noah finished 22nd on the year, which isn't too bad for a guy that's a backup, still finishing in the top 24. But he was only the Chiefs tight ends still saw 308 fantasy points on the year. So there's still lots of fantasy value. Hey, look, it's time to get up for my nap. There's still lots of fantasy value in that position for them. So as a second tight end on the team, Gray finished with just 80 points behind Kelsey, and he was 32 points from being a tight end 1. So not much off the pace of being an actual viable plug-and-play player week in and week out for you. D-Hop, though, what we look at, what's going on in Kansas City next year, D-Hop is going to be out. Looking for probably another team because that was a rough year.
Yeah, I didn't mix up very well with old Patty there.
Hollywood's contract was up. He was only there for a year. Rashee Rice is coming off of an injury. You never know what you're going to get when somebody's coming off an injury. Very likely he'll be back and he'll be fine, but you just don't know. And then Juju's contract is up. So that's a lot of receiver turnover and exchange that's going to be happening there. Kelsey's salary is a $0 guarantee. It's all in bonuses right now. Very likely he could re-sign through another season or two, or he just rides out one more year, and that's where we're sitting with Noah Gray. Yeah.
I like it. I don't see anything wrong with going and picking up what could be the replacement for Travis Kelsey. Hell, he could retire this year. He kind of looked like dog shit last year. I mean, he had his moments, but he looked like he finally got to the crest of that mountain and was on his way downhill the year before. And this year it looked like he kind of bottomed out. I would not be surprised to see Travis Kelsey just call it quits. Just flat out be like, you know what? I had a good run. We almost made a three-peat. I'm not going to come back and hinder the team at all. Could also see him come back and, have a little bit of vengeance. But
try with that one more time.
Yeah, but I still see Noah Gray as a guy who, like you're saying, is going to be a viable target with everybody departing that place and Rashee Rice coming back off of injury, and who knows how long it's actually going to take before he's trusting that knee after that ACL injury. This is a good little buy low. I like that's a buy cheap, right?
Yeah.
With some upside to it. You're not going to get much downside because at tight end 22, what's your downside, right?
Right.
What are you thinking on a price tag on Noah Gray right now? What would you pay to get a Noah Gray off somebody?
So I'm looking like maybe early third or a mid third and a fourth. I mean, you're talking cheap for somebody that was right in line with the people that finished that we actually don't mind starting, like Dalton Shorts, Chicken Conquo, Isaiah Likely, Ferguson, like that's where those guys all finished, is right where Noah Gray was, and you could just steal him right now for a third, and he's in line possibly for that role to come to him.
I agree completely with you on that. All right, onward and upward. Like Tony said, we did have a little bit of discrepancy in how we were going about this. Tony went and bought cheap. I went and bought low. I'm looking at guys in this situation where was the production last year? Where does somebody see them going into the next year? What has the career kind of led them to? And can I go get that guy cheap to help build my roster this year? First guy I've got on this list is Mr. Dakota Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys. Look, this team is in fucking shambles, and that's putting it lightly. Mike McCarthy was probably one of the worst things that could have happened to him, especially replacing him with Brian Schottenheimer, who, by the way, if we can all remember, Mike McCarthy took the play calling away from in the middle of the season last year. Woo. Right?
Ouch.
So now he's the new OC. Not only that, the only offensive coordinator they had was an offensive line coach out of Arizona. Now, what is this all going to tail back to? Why would Dak be worth going and spending some prime real estate on, or cheaper than his value is right now, to bring him onto your team? Here's the reason why. Even with Zach Martin reporting that he's going to retire today,
I was going to bring that up.
This team is automatically set up with what they're doing right now. Bringing in an O-line coach as their OC, who is big in the run game. Bringing in Brian Schottenheimer as the head coach, who's big on the run game. This team is going to go back to its roots. It's going to go back to what Dak started off doing well as before Kellen Moore just started unleashing the kid out there on secondaries, in which he did have good fantasy seasons, but they also had detrimental times. Here's how I see this playing out. Dak Prescott getting back to the roots. The Dallas Cowboys emphasizing the offensive line in this upcoming draft. The Dallas Cowboys not taking Ashton Jeanty, because why the hell would you do that? He's not Zeke Elliott coming in behind that all-pro offensive line that they had when Zeke came in. Ashton Jeanty is not going to fix you. Do not take Ashton Jeanty, Jerry Jones. Draft an offensive lineman. Do that first, second round. Be smart about how you're going about it. Play to your strengths. Put Dak Prescott back, running the ball all the damn time. Play action pass, deep balls, and one of the best wide receivers in the league, and CeeDee Lamb, already sitting on the team. Jake Ferguson, a great tight end, already sitting on the team. Bump into free agency, grab yourself another decent wide receiver to put. That's a trio of guys you can throw the ball to. They're doing well. And with the running back class that's coming out this year, you can wait until the third or fourth round and still get yourself a really good running back that's going to complement this offense. It's going to be a grinder, a pounder. Hell, draft two of them. A guy that just runs the rock right down people's throats on first and second down, and a fourth weapon for Dak Prescott to dump the ball off to and play action on third down.
There's even going to be players on free agency for running backs this year, so
I mean, if they want to go that route.
Yeah, there's options.
If they want to go that route, for sure. Now, if you look back at Dak's slight history here, you don't even have to go back that far. You can go back 4 years, and in 2 of those 4 years, he was a top 10 quarterback. In 2023, he was number 3 overall. In a beat-up year and a really down year for the Dallas Cowboys last year, he was quarterback 31 and just got his ass handed to him. He only played 8 games, right? Really didn't do all that well. In 2022, when he was quarterback 18, he only played 12 games. This guy's going to put up stats. He has the players in place to put up touchdowns. He has the players in place to give you good yardage totals week in and week out. And here's the best way to look at this. Top price that you're going to pay for Dak Prescott in a really shitty quarterback rookie draft this year. 110. I'm not paying 110 to go get Dak Prescott. That's too goddamn much in my opinion. If it's me, I'm taking one of the wide receivers, one of the tight ends that are coming out, or one of these badass running backs, depending on where they land.
Yeah.
The value I see is when you spend a mid-second round pick and throw in a gimme player. There is somebody on your roster that some asshole in your league likes, who isn't worth fucking actually having on your roster, that gets you Dak as either your second or your third quarterback, and you rely on him week in and week out to put up points. Don't let the injury history scare you. Yes, he gets fucking dinged up. Yeah, whatever. That's probably because he's dropping back 50 fucking times to the ball each game and getting tagged. This year, I don't think that happens. I think they run the ball. They put an emphasis on relying on that defense. This team is going to be built different. So if you're expecting Dak to go out there and throw the ball 60 times a game and put up these monster fantasy days, I wouldn't go that route. But for a 205 and Troy Franklin to add a quarterback who, by the way, Dak is only 31 years old. You've got another 3, 4, 5 good years out of him. Bring this guy onto your squad, reap the benefits, don't worry, Brian Schottenheimer won't make it through the season. They're going to bring somebody else new in there. That guy's a fucking placeholder. This will pay dividends. Okay?
Yeah.
Go in there, make your small ass offer on it, wheel and deal a little bit, get Dak on your squad right now.
There we go. Love it. Grip it and rip it.
Rip it. Let the big dog eat.
Especially what you're going to try to pay for. You're not expecting him to be your one. Or if you're just to that low point of your team is needing Dak, this isn't your savior for your roster.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for a solid set quarterback for your roster, that's where you go and get Dak.
For sure.
All right. You're needing a deep flex rotation. I am calling in for the trade for Malik Washington, wide receiver from Miami. Last year, it was a rough season for Waddle, which I believe you want to talk about somebody later. So
We'll get to that shit.
We'll cross that bridge. But we also see this as an opportunity. You know, Tyreek saying he doesn't want to be there. Who knows? He's still under contract for forever and a day. That probably isn't going to change anything right now. You know, Jonnu, who knows if he's going to be the same player exactly 2 years in a row or if he's even going to be in Miami. But, lost my place in my notes. I was very in on Malik coming in last season. He's a 5'9" guy, 191 pounds, coming out of Virginia. Ran a 4.47, 96 percentile burst score. He was a fifth-year breakout, which is kind of why he fell down the charts a little bit. But he had a banger of a season, his last season. 110 receptions, 1,400 yards, 9 touchdowns. That's more yards he had in his one season than he had his whole 4 years with Northwestern. And he was just 10 receptions short that he had for the whole time he was there, too. So he made up for that all in one season. Just looks like he needed to go to the right place. With him being a 6th-round pick, it seemed like a long shot for him to have any impact, which you don't expect that for these guys. But behind duo of, you know, Waddle and Tyreek, you're not expecting anything's going to happen. It's kind of a hope and prayer, but he got onto the field because there was some rough play by those guys. You know, week 15, Waddle goes out with a knee injury versus Houston. And from there, Malik Washington averaged 5 targets a game, 4 receptions a game, 42.5 yards. You know, it's nothing exceptional, but for a 6th-round guy to come in there and score you 8 fantasy points a week, that's a viable flex that you just picked up for fab. You know, maybe $2. Yeah. A lot of places I picked him up for free. So the fact that you can go out there now and probably buy this guy for a late 3rd, probably an early 4th, like this guy's a guy that you could steal off of people's rosters that they're probably paying attention to, or this guy is just sitting there still in free agency. You know, I would go and spin that on him because he's going to be receiver for Tua. You know, the other two there can't seem to stay on the field 100% of the season, so he's going to see some targets, and he's going to be a viable flex player for you that's going to get you anywhere from 8 to 10 points on, you know, a limp-along week.
Yeah, and I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't want to give the old piece of candy I got for you guys later. But you got to think about how Miami's season started off. Tua gets domed again, right?
Yeah.
Dude's on a short leash. He's one fucking more smack away from being in an institution for the rest of his life. So the year started off tough. We didn't really expect Malik Washington coming into a whole lot any damn way. But I think this is another good candidate. Like, you're spending peanuts to get a guy whose upside is going to be so much higher than that. It's definitely worth going and putting just a little bit on him. Go gauge where you're at in your league and see what you can get him for. Guaranteed, like Tony said, you're going to get him for dirt cheap.
Dirt. All right. Who are we going for next?
We're going right back into the Chiefs, baby. I like that you got everything you had to say because you led me right into Mr. Isaiah Pacheco. Mr. I was hot as fuck last year and I ain't no more. Sounds like a bunch of celebrities that you see, or the newest hot chick that's out there singing right now, Sabrina Carpenter. So Isaiah Pacheco, to me, I say like he caught fire last year. Like in the offseason last year, people were paying premiums to get this guy, and there was good reason for it. He runs hard as fuck. He's behind a decent O-line, and he's got Pat Mahomes behind him. The downfalls to this kid is he's probably not going to get a lot of red zone run. He's probably not going to catch a lot of passes. Andy Reid always wants to bring somebody in that takes a little bit of work away from his kid. Here's how I think this goes this year. Kareem Hunt is gone. There's no way they're keeping him around.
No.
They're not going to re-sign him. He's out. They're going to bring in a little bit of competition, but I think this is Isaiah Pacheco's backfield next year. He also proved this year that he can catch the ball out of the backfield. Granted, he only played 7 games, but he still had 14 targets and 12 catches. The year prior, in 2023, he had 49 targets and 44 catches. The kid can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's just not that premium third down back that I think Andy Reid likes to use all the time. But he could very well find himself there this year because of the trust of Patrick Mahomes and the fact that I think he's going to play more downs this year. Now, you tie that back into Kelsey probably falling off, Hollywood leaving, D-Hop leaving. Now it's Noah Gray. Rashee Rice is going to come back at some point. Does this team start to realize, hey, maybe we don't rely on Pat so much? Maybe they take a note from Philadelphia and they say, maybe we should be running the ball a little bit more. Who reaps the benefit of that? Mr. I run hard as hell, Isaiah Pacheco. A couple of things I want to make sure I'm touching over. He's a little older. He's 25, 26 years old. So you probably don't want to spend a lot on him, especially coming into a draft where there's a lot of running backs that everybody can go and get. But I'll be getting into that when we talk about what kind of compensation you're going to be looking to put out for Pacheco. Yeah, he got hurt, and he missed a shit ton of the season. That was a wicked-ass injury. A testament to how tough this bastard is, though. He came back. He fucking came back. So this kid is a tough runner. We've all seen him run on the field. He is a juggernaut, and a dude I want on my squad because you know he's going to run hard every time he touches the ball, which, meaning even if he has limited touches, if he's only getting 10 to 12 carries, maybe seeing 2 to 3 targets, you know he's going to make the best out of those with just pure fucking effort. And he is on a fantastic offense. Always will be.
Yep. There's going to be space for him to wiggle.
Okay, so let's get into what it's going to cost you to go get Isaiah Pacheco. Look, it's cheap to start, I think, but the range it sits at, I don't like. Because at $209 was probably the top price you're going to pay for him. That's KTC saying that. That's Fantasy Pro saying you're probably going to be around there. That's their trade value charts. I wouldn't spend that. At $209 my ass, because I still think at $209 you're going to get a good shot at a lot of good running backs. I think a lot of these running backs are going to land, or coming out of the draft, are going to land in really good spots. They are going to be hot and heavy talked about. The beauty of it also is that there's a lot of good wide receivers coming out this year. So you may see a run on running back, but you're also going to see a run on wide receivers. There are going to be guys that are going to fall into these late second rounds that I'm going to want to be looking at. I want to find my Bucky Irving. So I am not spending this on Isaiah Pacheco. I'm like, you get a 21, 20, 22-year-old kid. Ooh, he fuzzed out. 22-year-old kid who's got less wear and tear on him and may end up in a better situation. And it may pan out that where they go has a little bit more pass game happiness, right? And that's all we want. We always want our running backs to get the ball, hand it off to them, and we want them to be viable in the passing game. So we're not spending at $209 on Isaiah Pacheco. You know what I am spending on Isaiah Pacheco? A couple of third-round picks. And you know how far down we're going? I'm going to give a 307 and a 312. That is even value on a KTC or Fantasy Pros value chart. Here's the shit part. Rarely are you probably going to find guys in your league that are like, yes, I'll take that deal for 2 dart throws at guys maybe I can go get.
Yeah.
Here is how I would look at this. I'm not probably going to make a move on Pacheco until after the draft. Until we see some shit kind of happen here. Until we see some things kind of work themselves out. I think his name's Trey Smith. God, if I fucked that up, I'm sorry. But I think Trey Smith is the guard that is in there for Kansas City. If he moves, because he's a free agent, if he signs somewhere else and he moves, and that offensive line continues to deteriorate a little bit, I want to know that. Because then I think the price still drops on him a little bit. If we see a bunch of running backs going to really good spots, and you can talk to a team that's already gotten mid-second round picks, and they don't want Isaiah Pacheco because they just are about to load up on 2 or 3 good running backs where they're going to pick at as is, go give this guy, offer this dude 2 third-round picks. 2 third-round picks. Who the fuck have you been drafting in the 3rd round that's going to give you RB1 potential with at least an RB2 floor?
Yep.
Go get Isaiah Pacheco. Nice, cheap, reap the benefits this year. If you're rebuilding, I don't think I even have to say this, if you're rebuilding, you're not making this move. But if you are a team, again, that needs a 3rd running back, a fill-in guy for bye weeks that's going to be competitive for you every week, a guy you're going to put in your lineup over a bunch of other running backs and your flex spots.
Yeah.
If you're going to use this guy week in, week out, you're going to find a spot in your roster for him, and he's going to pump you out 10 to 20 points every fucking week, touchdown dependent. You're hoping he gets those. If he doesn't, he's still going to get you that 10 to 12 point range, which I think is fantastic. Go grab this guy. It's a good price.
Steal. Yeah, especially if you're looking to do trades and stuff, add him in there as an extra option. You thinking of that value? Yeah, I'll throw you in a couple more picks, and you just kick me Pacheco, and we'll call this even.
Yeah, I think we're
So,
going to run into some headwinds, especially right now because a lot of people are still probably thinking the same way I am. Man, he just got hurt, right? If he doesn't get hurt, they don't sign Hunt, probably still reaps all that, and he has another really good year on top of the one he already had in 2023.
but while everybody's creaming themselves over picking up whatever Chiefs running back they pick up in the draft, right after the draft, you could probably get Pacheco for that cheap.
Definitely, definitely. That's why I'm waiting. Definitely wait a little bit. Don't go fucking getting crazy right now and grabbing him. Watch the combine. Let the running back hype get a little bit high. That'll push Pacheco down a little bit. Hell, I bet you can even get it for a little bit cheaper. But I think I'm dirt cheaping it already on 2 third-round picks.
Yeah, that's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
You didn't say first rounds, which that's what I was expecting at first. So
Nobody's holding that high. I mean, I think he
No.
skyrocketed last year, and then with his age, and still the uncertainties with him, I don't think you're going to have to pay. If somebody's asking you to pay a first-round pick, tell them to go fuck themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So speaking of paying a first round pick and not working out for a long time, we have Rashad Bateman on my list. Year 4 breakout for him. He finishes as wide receiver 40. He had 3 top 12 finishes on the season, 45 receptions, 756 yards, 9 touchdowns. Compared to all of his 1 and 2 from the previous seasons, 9 touchdowns, which will regress a little bit, unfortunately, but everybody dumped him off. Everybody wrote him off. They were done with him. Years of ankle injuries set him back, but yet the Ravens re-signed him for a couple more seasons, and that's why, is because he was a phenomenal red zone target for Lamar. He finally did what he was supposed to do, be in the end zone and catch the damn ball. Contested catches. He finally got some. Zay Flowers only finished with 4 touchdowns on the year, while finishing at wide receiver 25 on 74 receptions, 1,059 yards. He had 0 touchdowns after week 11. In fact, only 1 wide receiver 2 finish on the season at all this year. So definitely not Zay is the answer at wide receiver. They're still redistributing that ball all over the offense. You look at who had touchdown receptions. It wasn't, all tight ends this year. They finished with 17 touchdowns on the season. Mark Andrews, 11 of those touchdowns. So, yeah, Bateman's not the touchdown guy. He's not the top wide receiver. But if you're looking for a viable flex player that could get plugged in, have 4 to 6 receptions and the upside of having a touchdown each week, this is what you're looking for, and you're not paying more than an early third. If you're paying more than an early third, that's way too much. Get the fuck out of it. But for a fairly streamable flex option, I'll take it. Bateman's 3-year deal. He still has 2 more years left. That puts him at 28 when he's done with that. So he's still got time. He's still young, and he could still be a great late, like if you're going like a triple flex or something, or multiple wide receivers, this is a guy that you could plug in and play.
Yeah, Baltimore's not going to get any free agent wide receivers come in there. They're going to keep the rookies they're drafting. Bateman will get a longer leash, especially after this year, what he was able to do. I think the closer he gets to the end of his contract, the more pressure put on him, the more I think he even produces more than what his contract really is worth. Mark Andrews clearly showed this year that he is definitely on the decline. Isaiah Likely he's just not that fucking full-time guy that fits that offense as far as a tight end that blocks like Andrews does. So he's still going to be a split kind of guy. The progression of Lamar Jackson and throwing the ball is huge in this. I actually like how you saved the best for last, because honestly, this guy right here I think is the best one you've had so far. He progressed this year in a way that we all expected him to progress in his second year after the first injury-riddled rookie year, and he just didn't make it there. And him being paired with Lamar this entire time, progressing together, I think it's a really good opportunity to get a pretty cheap guy who, like you're saying, you can rely on his flex spot, and I think he's going to get a little bit more look as this team starts to build more and more and more. Derrick Henry is not going to be the guy he was last year. They're not going to be able to turn around and hammer the ball as many times as they did. This ball is going to find the air on Lamar Jackson. Is chasing another MVP next year, and somebody has to be on the receiving end of those things. I think Bateman is a good guy to go looking at.
All right, you got one more to wrap us up.
Okay, so ironically, how this worked out. You had Malik Washington. I have Jalen Waddle.
Oh,
Now, look, I'm not shitting on Malik Washington at all. I think it's a great idea to go get him because it's pennies. It's in a high-powered offense. We know Mike McDaniel's going to throw the shit out of the ball. So, I like it. But here's what I like more. I like the guy who's already done it. I like the guy who is about the same size as Malik Washington, who catches 100 balls every fucking year. He's had 2 really injury-riddled seasons. And you can't take that factor out. You have to factor in this guy has been beat up, hamstrings, sprains, all kinds of shit. And yeah, he's small, plays in the slot, shit's gonna happen like that. Whatever. I don't want to hear it. Because a fully healthy season with a fully healthy Tua, this guy's doing fucking fine. Finishing wide receiver 7 in 2022 with 117 targets and 75 catches. Finishing at wide receiver 34 with a little bit of fall off in touchdowns is the only reason why. And 2023 with 104 targets and 72 catches. That was his first year with Tyreek. And we all kind of knew that was going to happen a little bit. And Tyreek balled the fuck out. Now, I'm not a believer that I think Tyreek is going anywhere. I think he's an emotional guy. I think he fucking spouted off a little bit. Kind of dumb. But it was the same thing that got his ass traded out of Kansas City. That could happen here too. Which bumps Jalen Waddle the number 1 guy. Now, there probably are wide receivers in free agency that are clamoring to get to Miami. Miami is the kind of team that will probably pull a trade, go get a top-tier wide receiver. But who the fuck is that going to be? And who the hell is actually going to trade him? You know what I mean? So right now, the way I see it is, if Tyreek leaves, Jalen Waddle becomes the number 1. The shit part is he's not going to play a true number 1 spot. This is why I like the Malik Washington thing, too. Malik can actually play on the outside. He showed that. Jalen Waddle cannot play on the outside. This is a straight-up slot guy. But the volume alone, the offense they're in, let's not take out of account that, like I said before, these guys were. Tyler Huntley started games for these dudes this year, right? Skylar Thompson started games for these guys this year. This offense was in shambles for a good part of the year. They were playing catch up a lot of the time. It was a rough spot for any wide receiver to be in, let alone pile in injuries that you're dealing with left and right. And yes, he's had 2 years of that. You got to be a little bit worried about that. But that's baked into the cost, baby. That's why we go get this guy. Because I want to go get the guy who might end up being a top 10 wide receiver for dirt ass cheap. And I want to kick it back to my league mate and be like, sucker, probably should have given up on this guy because he's a badass and I knew it. Now, let's get into some pricing here.
Yeah, that's where I'm curious about what you're looking to spend.
With the current draft that we have coming in, there's a lot of good wide receivers coming out. There's a lot of good running backs coming out. Top end right now price you'd have to pay straight up to get Jalen Waddle is $110. I'm not doing that. There's no fucking way I'm doing that. I see no reason to have to spend that much on him. I'd rather go get another wide receiver that's going to be a little bit younger, might be in a better spot. You know they're going to fall because you know Jetty's coming off the board and you know the top 2 to 3 wide receivers on the board are going to come off the board. You know, running back's going to go on there. You know, Cortland Loveland's probably gone. And you know that Tyler Warren's probably gone. That's going to put you in a spot right there where you're going to get a nice little package of wide receivers to go get. And God forbid Jackson Dart shows off because then you're going to have to take his ass at 110 when he falls. Let's hope that doesn't fucking happen.
I sure hope not.
So I'm not paying 110 for Jalen Waddle. However, I will do this. I'll throw you a 207 and an Aaron Jones. Something like that. I'm not giving you another wide receiver for Jalen Waddle, right? If I'm trading you for Jalen Waddle, it's because I need wide receiver help, and you have too many wide receivers, and he's like the 6th guy on your fucking team, and he's just sitting there rotting. Again, a lot of these that I've been talking about are you're going to have to manage your league and see how things are. If Dak Prescott is already the second quarterback on another guy's team, probably not going to get him for the price I said. If Isaiah Pacheco is the 2nd or 3rd running back on that guy's team, probably not getting him for the prices I said. Jalen Waddle is one of the wide receivers this dude is relying on. You're not getting him for this.
Yeah.
But if you go in with an aged out running back, a guy who's probably going to produce, who has produced, and you can kick that narrative to the guy you're trying to trade with, go make it happen, right? I'm not even opposed to sending over like a Rachaad White, who's at the end of a contract, who already got beat out by Bucky Irving. Just pick an opposite fucking position. Double down on your wide receivers. Have Jalen Waddle in there as a 3rd option because here's what I'm telling you. This kid could end up being a weekly starter in an actual position spot for you. He could be your wide receiver 2, week in, week out. Hell, if you get hurt and injuries and he is balling, he's your wide receiver 1. And I don't think anybody's going to bitch about a guy who's putting up wide receiver 7 overall in fantasy point numbers for you. So go pay cheap on him. Be smart.
Go pay cheap.
Add in.
That's right. And that's why we want to start out with this episode. We want you to be on track to spending the dimes you have left in your piggy bank. You know, a lot of people have already spent their first round pick or tried to really hold on to it to see what they can get with this class rolling out. So, you know, this is the point of the season where you start putting those pieces on your roster. You're like, okay, well, nobody's going to pay attention to that. I'll just gather these little chess pieces here. I'm going to mine them over here into the corner. You just don't look at what I got. You look at my bright, shiny roster, that all those pieces that you want to trade. But I'm over here starting to hoard the little fill-in rosters that are going to help me on flex bye weeks as people go down early in the season, stuff like that. And that's what we really want to get out of these guys, and that's why we want to buy cheap.
Yeah,
So,
I'm saying jump in right now while the season's still fresh. Before these guys have a chance to start getting hype built up behind them because, you know, oh, look at the pass he caught in training camp. Or, you know, oh, shit, Miami didn't draft any other wide receivers. Or, shit, Tyreek left. Like, go get these guys. Right?
Yeah.
Same shit with Pacheco. I mean, well, on that one, I guess I shouldn't say that because that's going against what I said. Him, I want you to wait on. But before Dak Prescott actually shows that he's out there throwing the ball around a CD, while you're still fresh and haven't seen him for fucking weeks now. I mean, what are we looking at? Like 8, 9, and 10. I mean, shit, he's been out for almost a year, Christ's sakes. Like,
yeah.
10 weeks. It's fucking insane. Go gauge your league. Right now is the time to be looking at guys' rosters, gauging where you think they're at, and having a couple conversations about adding little pieces to your roster that add nothing more than depth. Because I'm telling you, if you go and trade Jalen Waddle for the 207 and Aaron fucking Jones, and you're midway through the season, and you're like, fuck, I have too many wide receivers. That guy could be the piece that gets you the running back or the tight end or another piece to get you a quarterback to help get you through to being a champion.
Well, and I'm glad you still brought up Dak and the Zach Martin thing. I think this ends up being another low dip. Because now people are like, well, fuck, he doesn't have an offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Who is going to be in front of him protecting him? Now they've got a different coordinate, you know, like now this, now that, you know, and looking as he's aging, you know, okay, I got to move him. This is the time to pounce on that and get a viable person for yourself.
Yep.
So,
and don't overpay. Be comfortable. Be
that
comfortable
is the other
and
big
throw him
part
out
of that.
shyster. Shiest him. Take him down.
Christ,
Well, I think that was another good episode. We are happier than hell to be back. Make sure to check us out on the Tubi. Make sure to hit the likey button on the video and us overall. And make sure to hit the bell button so when we do put this shit out, which we're going to be doing a hell of a lot more of.
yes, at least once a week for right now. So,
Get them fully noties on, boys. We back! And I know you love it.
all right.